Well, it's that time of year again. We've had all the 450cc motocross models in the magazine with individual tests, and now we're ready to shoot them out against each other. So welcome to the 2018 Dirt Bike Magazine 450cc motocross shootout. The technology race among the 450 MX bikes is intense and almost beyond reason. Over the past few years, Honda, Husqvarna, Kawasaki, KTM, Suzuki, and Yamaha have all seen major changes. KTM and Husqvarna redesigned their bikes from scratch in 2015. Then came Kawasaki, Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki in quick succession. Honda rattled the MX world last year with an all-new CRF 450R. It had a completely redesigned motor with a downdraft intake, a coil spring Showa fork, and a different way of looking at motorcycle design. For 2018, the bike gets an electric start and a completely new electrical system. The kickstart lever is gone, a high-tech lithium battery replaces the capacitor that formerly brought the EFI system to life, and Honda made other changes to the power delivery and suspension to effectively make the 2018 model a major reboot in its own right. After months of testing on the 2018 CRF 450R, here's the bottom line. Most pros love the Honda. It's fast, aggressive, and a bit hyperactive. It's the kind of bike that keeps you on your toes and appeals to riders who want to throw it into turns hard and have strength to make it behave. Novice riders might have a harder time keeping the bike under control. As most people know, KTM and Husqvarna are owned by the same group and share many parts. By many, we mean the entire engine, frame, and suspension. That only leaves the bodywork, the subframe, airbox combo, the seat, the muffler, and a few components like the rims and bars and the clutch master cylinder to separate the two brands. Off-road Husqvarna models have more features that set them apart from the KTMs, but the respective motocross models are closely related. For 2018, there are a few suspension changes and an upgraded battery for the FC 450. After many hours of intense testing, it's hard to argue with a bike that does everything so well. Compared to the Japanese bikes, the Husqvarna has huge advantage in the weight department, plus it has better brakes and a hydraulic clutch. It gives all without sacrificing power, suspension, or handling. Kawasaki redesigned the KX450F 2 years ago with weight loss and improved handling as the primary goals. The chassis was changed much more than the motor, which dates back to the time before anyone thought that electric start would be a trend in motocross. So now the KX450F is one of the two bikes that still has a Kickstarter. It's the lightest of Japanese bikes, due in part to the air fork. While the other Japanese bikes have returned to the spring forks, aside from the Yamaha, which never left, Kawasaki is using a Showa SFF fork with 3 separate air chambers in the right leg. Here's what we found after months of testing on the Kawasaki. It's easy to ride, but hard to own. The handling is without a flaw. The torquey motor makes it an absolute pleasure to ride, but it has a number of nagging issues, like the overcomplicated fork, mediocre brakes, tiny bars that are hard to overlook. Yes, it's lighter than the other Japanese bikes, but it needs to offer more in exchange for the lack of an electric start. KTM engineers didn't change much on the 2018 450 SXF because they didn't have to. The KTM has a single overhead cam engine with an electric start. It has a diaphragm spring clutch with hydraulic actuation and WP AER 48 air fork. It's the lightest bike in the shootout, albeit only by a half pound compared to the Husky. The battery is bigger this year and there are fork valving changes, but it's essentially the same bike that won last year's shootout. This year's model does feature an orange frame, and in the past, that has indicated that there might be a new bike coming. After many hours of testing at the track, this is our bottom line on the KTM. It's hard to find faults in such a high quality bike, especially when it's lighter, faster than just about anything else on the starting line. Not everyone loves the KTM's layout and handling manners, but even those who aren't fans admit that it has no weaknesses as an overall package. On the pro level, Suzuki's RMZ 450 has always been solid. In 2016, with Roxon aboard, it won an outdoor national championship. But the bike has gone stale in the public eye, so it was overdue for big changes. Thus, the redesigned 2018 model is a big attention getter. The chassis is completely different, with a new frame, coil spring Showa forks, and a new Showa shock that has both rebound and compression stacks in the reservoir. The motor got a new intake cam, a redesigned intake system, and a brand new throttle body. It did not receive an electric start, even though it is tied for the dubious honor of being the heaviest bike in the class. Here's the bottom line on the all-new RMZ 450. Suzuki gives you all the ingredients to make a great motocross bike. The suspension components are top-notch, and the frame geometry is excellent. The motor, obviously, can be made to go fast, but you might have to finish the job. In stock form, the RMZ 450 isn't a national winner, but it is a solid bike for seniors, vets, and novices. Yamaha didn't just update a few parts and add an electric starter to the 2018 YZ450F. Everything was redesigned. The idea was to design the bike around the electric starter rather than add one after the fact. That allowed Yamaha to eliminate the structures that would support the Kickstarter. The frame was made narrower to combat accusations of bulkiness, but the overall concept hasn't changed. It still uses the reverse head with intake in the front and exhaust port in the rear. The seating position has changed dramatically, but the suspension components are upgraded versions of the KYB parts that they have used before. Bottom line on the 2018 Yamaha YZ450F, between the suspension and the overall quality, the Yamaha has a lot going for it. It will probably be the most reliable bike in the class again, but disappointingly heavy. It's certainly not alone there. Even the weight could be overlooked if more riders felt comfortable on it. The Yamaha's new layout takes some getting used to, and its turning abilities are only slightly improved. The YZ450F is a case of changing everything except what needs to be changed. I just wanna take you Just gotta had more internal disagreements than ever before. Oddly enough, it wasn't for the overall winner. The real chaos was about how bikes stacked up through the middle and the bottom ranks. You can make an argument for just about any motorcycle in this group, but it's impossible to argue against a motorcycle that has everything. A great motor, electric start, excellent suspension, a hydraulic clutch, and the best brakes in the class, and the advantages that come with being freakishly light. This machine has survived serious challenges from new iron and returns as the class champion. So the winner of the 2018 Dirt Bike Magazine 450cc motocross shootout is the KTM 450 SXF.